story. DeMar DeRozan off the board. Obviously, he goes to the Sacramento Kings. I'm going to spend some time talking, obviously, just some of the moves that have not happened for the Lakers, what free agents are left. I saw some names out there. Gary Trent Jr., Spencer Dinwiddie. Also got an opportunity to watch 2 Summer League games from the Lakers, so got a chance to see Dalton Connect, Colin Castleton, Maxwell Lewis. We got to see Bronny James for a game, so we'll hit on all that as well. I want to start off the show. You know, it's crazy. Something kind of dawned on me after Travis and I were doing our show. I don't know why it dawned today because it's been going on, I feel like, for a while, and I'm guilty of it as well. There has been so much negative press around the Los Angeles Lakers. I mean, everywhere you look, whether it's a local show, our local shows that we all do, or it's a national platform like ESPN or Fox, and I consume a ton of NBA content. I just love the NBA, so I always find myself consuming NBA, and anytime the Lakers are brought up, it's typically something negative at this stage. That's kind of where they are right now. And I'm sick of, even myself, I'm sick of being negative about the team, of just kind of where the team is sitting, where they're ranked in the Western Conference, why this player chose to go that place or that place. And I saw a tweet a little bit earlier today, and I think to me, I don't know if it put things into perspective, but I'm like, all right, so let's see. Are the Lakers, they could be one of two things right now. I think the conversation about the Lakers right now that's come up is, okay, you know what? They didn't do much in the offseason, but is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? And to be honest with you, I don't think there's really time is going to tell whether the Lakers were smart about not making moves, whether they were lucky about guys choosing different locations or different spots to go play. But this is what I've heard as far as looking at both of those. Is this a weak market? Is it smarter to hold your assets and wait? And like I mentioned, I think time's going to clear a lot of that up. Here's what I do know, and I think this is part of the problem with making a case that, hey, I love the Lakers' patience. Here's the problem with that theory there. If somebody is out there saying that the market wasn't strong, the Lakers couldn't go out there and, obviously make a good move or make a big move or make an impactful move that they felt like, all right, we're in the top tier now. We're hanging with the Nuggets. We're hanging with the Timberwolves. We're hanging with the Mavs, and we're hanging with the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think most people would agree, those are the top 4 teams in the Western Conference, and there are tiers. And once we get to training camp in October, we'll have obviously kind of a better idea where everybody stands. Whether it was, I think that thing that I pay the most attention to is the problem for me to give the Lakers the benefit of the doubt. I don't think the plan was where they're sitting. I think we could look at where they're sitting and say, hey, you know what, that didn't happen, and maybe that's going to be beneficial down the road. You know what, why would they pay that much money for another guy down the road? Where they're sitting right now, I don't think this was the plan. So let me give you kind of some examples, because I think a few more things have happened here in these last couple of days. Obviously, we know this. They tried to get Klay Thompson, and they couldn't. They even offered more money and an extra year, and they still couldn't get Klay Thompson. He ended up in Dallas. They were interested in DeMar DeRozan. He ends up with the Sacramento Kings. I don't think that's too much of a shock for me personally, because last week I was talking to Sedano right before I was about to do Lakers talk. George and I were talking. It's like, why would he take the mid-level? What makes you think that DeMar DeRozan is going to take the mid-level? He's 34, about to be 35, still has value in the league. And his 3-year, $75 million deal that he just got, the sign-and-trade that he got with the Sacramento Kings, proves that point, right? If you can, is there still value for DeMar DeRozan? There is. But they tried to get Klay Thompson. They failed. DeMar DeRozan they had interest in. He went somewhere else. Buddy Hield publicly said that it was a call from Steve Kerr that closed the deal for him to go to the Golden State Warriors. The latest one today, I think, to add to the mix of all this is – they obviously at one point wanted Dan Hurley. Dan Hurley was a coach that they wanted. And this morning, right before, Travis and I are about to start, I'm looking at the details and I'm like, oh, Dan Hurley signed an extension with Connecticut. What are the details of that deal? It said 6 years, $50 million. I'm like, wait a minute here. What do you mean Dan Hurley signed for 6 years, $50 million? Lakers offered him 6 years, $70 million. Why would he pick UConn over the Los Angeles Lakers? I'm not even going to get into the details of how it happened, and I don't even think that's important to my argument. But any way you want to slice and dice the offseason, however you want to put it, I do think there's something that's very, very clarifying, and I think is it's the foundation of what's happened this entire offseason. The Lakers have not been able to close a deal. They're not here in this position that they're in because this is the position that they wanted to be in. They're here in this position because a lot of other people told them no. That would be my only, for anyone trying to make an argument that, no, Lakers are fine, they're better off this way. Well, maybe they're better off this way, but this wasn't the plan. I know they wanted Klay Thompson. I know they had interest in DeMar DeRozan. Clearly they had interest in Buddy Hield. You go back for years. And Dan Hurley they had interest in as well, and they wanted Dan Hurley. Even made him an offer. It was reported 6 years, $70 million. He took 6 years, $50 million to stay with UConn. So whether you like the Lakers' patience this offseason, whether you think this is the right move, I don't think anything that they've done, I don't think they've landed any of their plan A's. By the way, I don't think they've landed their plan Bs and their plan Cs as well. So time is going to tell you whether making a move or not was the smart thing. Time is going to tell you whether making a trade or not is the smart move or if it's not. But as we sit here today, it looks like this is probably going to be, for the most part, the Lakers lineup when we get, maybe there's some small tweaks here and there, but I don't think there's going to be anything significant. Maybe something miraculous happens, some type of sign and trade, or not type of sign and trade, some type of trade. But as of right now, this is what it seems like is going to be for the Lakers, and I don't think this was their plan. So if I ask the question right now, if the Lakers come back in the offseason or from the offseason and we start the 2024-2025 season of where we think the Lakers rank in the Western Conference, I do think at the absolute best, and I think I'm trying to be nice here, and I don't even really believe this because I don't think they're going to end up in this spot. I think they're the sixth best team in the Western Conference. I think Denver, Dallas, Minnesota, I think the Oklahoma City Thunder, there's 4 teams right there. I think Sacramento's better than them, there's 5. And I would make a case New Orleans, we'll see what happens with Brandon Ingram, is better than the Los Angeles Lakers. A lot of people think Memphis is going to be a top 7 team, top 6 team. There are so many teams I haven't even mentioned. I haven't mentioned the Warriors. I haven't mentioned the Phoenix Suns. I haven't mentioned the Houston Rockets. I haven't mentioned the San Antonio Spurs. Wherever the Lakers are, it does feel like they're going to be right back in the position they've been the last couple of years, which is somewhere in that play-in range. So that's kind of the reality of the Lakers, and even though as I sit here and I start the show and I talk about how there are a lot of negative stories around the Lakers, I think it's justified. And if the Lakers had come out before the offseason started and the plan was, hey, we just want to let everybody know we like our team. This is the team that we're bringing back. Don't expect some big moves. If I had heard that from the beginning, then that's a different story. But I think clearly the Lakers were trying to make moves and weren't able to make any moves. And even if the moves just didn't make sense, that part is fine. But the Lakers were trying to close deals and were not able to close any of those deals. Summer League has begun. It's kind of crazy, but this is just kind of the reality of it. So Dalton Knecht was the number 17 pick for the Lakers. We all know that obviously Bronny James was taken at number 55 in round 2. So we're all kind of aware of who the Lakers took, and I think there's certain players that we're all going to be paying attention to in the Summer League. They've played 2 games so far. First off, let me just say, it is not a good Summer League team. So if you're going to watch Lakers Summer League and your hope is, hey, can the Lakers get some W's and can I see this team thrive? It doesn't look like it, at least through the first 2 games. And I don't think it's too shocking. Last year Lakers had Max Christie, who was clearly much better than the talent that was going to be out there in the Summer League. Lakers are part of that Cali Classic right now, so they're in the middle of that front. But the actual team, for me, I think it's the first chance to see Dalton Knecht and Bronny James. I want to spend some time talking about the basketball portion first, so I'm going to do this when we come back. I just want to talk about the actual basketball part that I've seen over the last couple of days. And then Bronny James, and already how many headlines are dominating the news around Bronny James. LeBron had some stuff to say about Bronny as well. I got some thoughts on that. Also, just a heads up here, Eric Pincus, who's the beat writer for the Bleach Report, national beat writer for the Bleach Report. He's going to join me at 7:30. So we'll do all that coming up next. If you guys want to be a part of the show, 877-710-ESPN. Maybe you agree with me, maybe you disagree. The way I was kind of, obviously talking about the Lakers offseason so far. We'll do all that coming up next. Thanks for hanging out. This is Lakers Talk on 710 ESPN.
Hey, guys.
All right, first day, spring training for Michael Funches. Team Sliwa is taking down Team Mason. In Ireland, you're going to lose $100,000 mythical money. Because look at this machine. He's ready. They ain't ready for you, Funch. They ain't ready for you. They ain't ready for you, Funch. That's right, Funch. All right, we figured out where Funch can go. He can catch. I'm gonna put you at second base. Go play second base right now. It's over here.
This is here.
There.
But it's here.
Oh no.
And get connected to a licensed medical provider online for free with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit, hims.com/joy.
Travis and Sliwa.
All the way live from LA Live. Coming up tomorrow morning at 10 a.m.
People could see that I was having one of the great days of my life. And it was simply because everywhere you turned, there was high-quality Mexican food.
Theo Travis is alive.
Travis
Rodriguez made his debut yesterday. Let's just say
Travis Valenzuela.
Oh, no.
There we go.
Well,
I like that.
It's Travis Rodriguez Valenzuela. He now has two last names. Let's just say Trav is the most popular white guy at a Mexican market. Everybody was stopping him before he even got to us. The people in charge of Northgate Market were just like, "This is our guy. Es mi gallo right there."
This
Miguel,
is
Simon.
Trav. You tell me. I feel like I know you pretty well at this point.
No. You know Travis. You don't know El Travis.
Well, here's what I was gonna say.
Mid-morning spectacular.
Don't miss Trav and Slee, live from LA Live.
710 ESPN. Lakers Talk with Alan Sliwa.
An off-season edition of Lakers Talk rolls on.
We hear so much of the Lakers accommodating to LeBron. Why not the same energy for Anthony Davis? Anthony Davis is the one that is supposedly going to be around here for the next 5, 7, 8 years. Anthony Davis is the one that is certainly going to be a big part of your future moving forward. I don't feel like I hear AD's name enough.
Lakers Talk is presented by Hoag Orthopedic Institute. When pain keeps you from doing what you love, Hoag Orthopedic Institute gets you back to you. Proudly founded by premier physicians in partnership with Hoag. Visit HoagOrthopedicInstitute.com to get the help you need today. Another edition of Lakers Talk continues.
Back to Alan Sliwa.
I appreciate you guys hanging out this Monday night. Of course, we'll go till 8 o'clock tonight. Just a heads up, Eric Pincus, who's the national beat reporter for Bleach Report, is going to join us, talk all things NBA. A little bit Lakers. Curious to get his thoughts on how the offseason has gone, really just around the NBA, so we'll do that as well. Take a quick phone call here. Corey in Irvine. Corey, what's going on, buddy?
How you doing? Love your show. I just, wanted to kind of give you my take, and 20-year Laker fan. I know that people talk about, Rob Pelinka and the issues. And my biggest issue with Rob Pelinka is more his insight, knowing going after a guy, which you're not going to get the guy. And, with Klay, with Klay Thompson, at the end of the day, he did not want to go to the Lakers. They offered him more money, playing, where Kobe played. And you got to have the insight, because then you have to shift to the players that do want to play for the Lakers to show love. And that happened with Dan Hurley. They spent 3 days, and honestly, I don't think Dan Hurley really was ever going to come. He was listening, but, really, was he going to leave? And DeRozan, same situation. And I just feel that this is a constant thing with Rob. And if you look at how Jerry West managed and how he was a GM, he got his guy. When he negotiated hard for Shaq, he spent 2 hard weeks making sure to have the money, the funds, making sure everything worked, made the trades, and he made it happen. With Pelinka, he doesn't make it happen, and that's my biggest issue.
I appreciate the call. Thanks, Corey. I think there also is I think even if, let's say, Klay Thompson's probably leaning towards Dallas, but you want to make a last-ditch effort. Maybe you don't think Dan Hurley's coming, but you want to show out there that, hey, we offered him 6 years, $70 million. What I don't think you want, too, is the perception of, yeah, people keep saying no to you. I don't think that's a good perception in any business, right? I like the comp of the Jerry West that, and this is going to be something that I think is important, and maybe Rob Pelinka has not found that guy yet. Maybe it was Anthony Davis, where you identify one person and say, whatever resource we have, that's the guy that we want to see rocking the purple and gold for the next 7-8 years, right? That's going to come down to whoever that player is. But maybe he hasn't been able to identify it. But I think those are some good points there, Corey. So, okay, Summer League here real quick. I just want to let everybody know. Summer League, Lakers 2 games in. They're doing the Cali Classic, so the California Classic up in the Bay Area. Of course, it includes the Sacramento Kings, the Golden State Warriors, the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Miami Heat, because it's the Cali Classic. So why not just throw the Miami Heat in there for absolutely no reason? Nonetheless, Lakers have played 2 games. Got blown out by the Sacramento Kings, got blown out by the Golden State Warriors. I don't really care about the results of the game. This is our first chance to look at some of our young guns. Okay, it's the second time around that we get to see Colin Castleton and Maxwell Lewis, but it's the first time we get to see Dalton Connect, who's supposed to be a steal at number 17, and, of course, Bronny James as well. Let me talk about the basketball side real quick and then all these other storylines that were part of the last couple of days. Okay, so Dalton Connect. There's really a few players that I'm very curious to watch in the Summer League. Dalton Connect, I want to know just what this guy looks like, strengths, weaknesses. How's he look against other guys of his caliber, potentially NBA players, guys with a chip on their shoulder, guys just trying to make the league, guys that were drafted in the first or second round or went undrafted and are trying to show that they belong. How does he look? Here's my first impression, Dalton Connect. I think he hit, it was 6 for 25. Something like that. I want to say he had a 3 for 12 game and a 3 for 13. Didn't look good. Couldn't hit a shot. But that's okay. That's not – I don't think anybody's walking in here saying, well, Dalton Connect couldn't hit a shot in Summer League up in a Cali Classic in July, so he's going to struggle in November and December. I don't know how much PT the guy's going to get. But you're just looking to see what are some things that you like, what are some things that you don't like. Here's one thing that I like. He's definitely not shy of shooting the ball. I like that he actually takes a couple dribbles and tries to get to the basket. I like that he gets to the free throw line. I think that's good for shooters, that they just don't have one facet of the game where they just sit on the outside and try to look for threes. Defensively, did not look good. I think got pushed around a couple of times, gave up a couple rebounds on the offensive glass. So there were a couple things that you definitely tell this guy's going to be a project. But the thing I really didn't like, I didn't like that he got pushed around in a few possessions. It's like, no, you're going to have to kind of, in the NBA, and especially if you're sitting here in Summer League, you're going to have to hold your own ground. So anyways, something to see there. The other news, which, obviously the Bronny James piece of this all, man, that's crazy how much news was around Bronny in these last couple of days. This is one of the things that Travis and I have talked about in the morning a couple different times. One of the things that I said, and I'm not telling you that this is what's going to happen, but part of my case is like, oh, we're taking his son at number 55. That is it's circusy, is the right way that the best way that I can describe it. Okay, the world's not going to end. They took Bronny James, and now that he's a Los Angeles Laker, I want to see Bronny succeed. I'm not even talking about how Bronny played. He only played in one game, had some swelling in his knee, so he didn't play yesterday. Supposedly he's going to play in the final game in the Cali Classic coming on Wednesday. But the amount of attention and stories that went to Saturday, Bronny James' first game, the amount of stories that went to yesterday's game of Bronny James out, and here's a full article about a second-rounder, pick number 55, on ESPN.com. Dave McMenamin has it, and I guarantee you there was probably a lot of clicks that were on that story. The amount of attention to Bronny James since he got drafted to being here right now. Yesterday there was a long piece that ESPN put out, and it's with Dave McMenamin. And I want to play something, and DeAndre Funch, if we got this thing ready, I want to cue this thing up. This is LeBron talking about Bronny James and some of the criticism that he faces. Take a listen.
I don't know if people really understand. I don't know if people really understand Bronny. He doesn't care. I actually cared a little bit when I came in. I wanted people to like me, and some of the things that people were saying about me, it kind of bothered me early on in my career. I let it get to me. Bronny doesn't give a He doesn't. Bronny plays, he works his tail off. When he's done, he goes home and plays his video game. He does not care about nobody. He doesn't even listen to that stuff. He's like the complete opposite of his dad.
All right, here's what I'm hoping for. And I'm just going to take whether it's LeBron talking about Bronny or J.J. Redick during the presser where they're getting introduced and basically telling people that he earned his way here. I'm sick of hearing other people talk for Bronny. I want to see Bronny succeed. And I think Bronny's actually in a tough position and a tough spot because the cameras are going to be on him. People are going to certainly have a microphone in front of them. And there's also going to be a lot of other microphones in front of other players and coaches talking about Bronny. Why did Bronny do this? Why didn't Bronny do that? Is Bronny going to get some playing time? Why didn't he get some playing time? That's not going to go anywhere. And I think that's going to continue to happen. I know LeBron is obviously looking out for the best interest of his son. Of course he is. And I believe LeBron that it's a dream come true that he's playing with his son. But here's what I'm hoping for. I am hoping for that I hear less from other people talking about Bronny James and I just hear more from Bronny. I mean, the expectations that are, and I'm not even talking about I'll tell you my expectations for Bronny James in the Summer League. Does he look like he belongs with some of these G Leaguers and other first-round picks or second-round picks or guys that are in their second year in the league, guys that are getting no playing time in the NBA? Does he look like he belongs with a Maxwell Lewis, who was number 40 in the Lakers picked him number 40 last year? That's all I'm looking at. I really don't care about anything else. I don't think Bronny's going to get a ton of opportunities this year unless I'm shocked or surprised. Does it look like Bronny James can hang with other NBA players or guys on the fringe of potentially making the NBA or guys that are playing in Europe and are just hoping, can I just get back to the States? I want to play in the States somewhere. That's all I care about, and that's all I'm looking for. Unfortunately, that's not going to be the case for Bronny. Everybody's going to have an opinion about Bronny James. And I think the LeBron piece of it, and it started with LeBron. It did. It started with LeBron saying he wanted to play with his son. This was X amount of months ago, maybe a year ago. I don't even know when it was. And then he kind of had to backtrack on that. And it was Bronny. Then you finally heard his voice at the Combine basically saying something to the effect of, he has his dreams and wishes, but Bronny's going to have his own dreams and wishes as well. So my hope is that, and I don't think this is going to happen, that we can just let Bronny be Bronny. But I don't feel confident that that's going to happen. And I think the more that the mic is in front of every single person out there, including LeBron James, I think everybody's going to have an opinion. And my hope, I think he's supposed to play on Wednesday when they take on Miami. My hope is that this guy gets some run and just starts looking more and more comfortable being out there, and then we'll see what happens. I mean, even the Lakers, like I said, they took Dalton Knecht with number 17. Everybody's saying this is the steal of the draft. He didn't look good in the first 2 games. So it's not like a summer league game is going to determine whether you're a player in the league or you're not. It's going to take time for a lot of these players. There were some guys, one guy from Sacramento, another guy from Golden State. They're putting up 30s in a summer league game. Okay, maybe those guys are going to be rotational players in the NBA. Maybe they're not. It's just the summer league. But that was part of my takeaways there in those first couple of days of summer league. And after the game on Wednesday, they'll finish up the Cali Classic, and then they're actually in Las Vegas where everybody's going to be there. And, obviously that tournament will start there. They're guaranteed 4 games, and then we'll find out what happens on that front. Okay, Eric Pincus covers the NBA. He's a national beat writer for the Bleacher Report. He's coming up next. Stay right here. This is Lakers Talk on 710 ESPN.
I decided, all right, I got to find out, like, if I email these people, I got to talk to them in French. I wanted to ask, like, if I could take the kids, because not every winery allows kids.
Oh, that's true.
Right? So I wanted to write them, hello, I would like to make a reservation for my family to visit your winery. I'm like, all right, let's see if Google Translate works. So it translated for me. Bonjour, j'aimerais faire une réservation pour ma famille. Visitez votre goûter de la une Juliette. Nous les géons à proximité. Autorisez-vous les enfants dans l'établissement? Merci, Jorge.
Love that.
Oh my gosh.
Sedano and Cap, every weekday after Mason and Ireland.
On 710 ESPN.
Yo, LA, what up? It's Uncle Artie here from Perennial Law.
Starting Monday, September 9th, there's a new fall lineup on 710 ESPN, and it means the 9-hour LA Sports Mega Block begins an hour earlier. Even more live and local LA sports talk on 710 ESPN. The Travis and Sliwa Show will start at 9 a.m. Mason and Ireland move back to noon to 3, and Shidano and Cappy start the LA Afternoon Drive Takeover at 3 p.m. And then at 6 p.m., we are the destination for LA sports. It's a new fall lineup on 710 ESPN, and it begins Monday, September 9th.
Hey, it's Travis, and the great folks at Rotolo Chevrolet and Capozio Buick GMC are giving you the chance to once again nominate an all-star student from your community. So if you're a parent, friend, teacher, coach, or anyone else who knows an all-star in the classroom, the community, and the field, nominate your student at ESPNLA.com, and they could win $500. 5 students will be chosen and invited to All-Star Friday night to meet the 710 family and a chance to join the play-by-play team. Thanks to Rotolo Chevrolet and Capozio Buick GMC. Come see what all the fun's about.
Only athlete in both the college football and hockey halls of fame.
The whole atmosphere was electric when he was playing.
You couldn't ignore him, this kind of blonde Adonis.
As famous as he was in his day, he is little remembered now. 30 for 30 podcast presents Searching for Hobie Baker. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
Lakers Talk with Alan Sliwa.
What is going on, Laker fans? Thank you very much for tuning in. Another edition here of Lakers Talk.
Off-season edition of Lakers Talk is on.
A bunch of stuff to get to, as always, and not a surprise because it's Los Angeles Lakers basketball, and there's always stories around the Lakers.
Lakers Talk is presented by Hoag Orthopedic Institute. When pain keeps you from doing what you love, Hoag Orthopedic Institute gets you back to you. Proudly founded by premier physicians in partnership with Hoag. Visit HoagOrthopedicInstitute.com to get the help you need today. More Lakers Talk with Sliwa rolls on.
Back to Alan Sliwa.
I appreciate you guys hanging out on this Monday. I want to welcome in Eric Pincus, who's the general manager over at the Sports Business Class Plus, of course, the national NBA writer for Bleacher Report. Eric, what's going on, brother? Thank you for the time.
Oh, of course. Happy to do it. And let's talk some hoops. What you got for me?
Let's start with this, and I like that. Look, Eric's all business here. Like, Al, let's go. let me get those questions in. Let's start with this. I started the show, and I think you can make a case either way for the Lakers. I think if you want to say, hey, look, it wasn't a good market. There really wasn't that many free agents available. The price was too high. Being patient and not giving up your assets, that's the right game plan. The other way that I would look at it is I don't know if that was always the plan. It seemed like they did want to be active. It did seem like they wanted to go after a guy like Klay Thompson or, obviously as LeBron tried freeing up some money potentially for the Lakers before he signed his deal. They clearly wanted Dan Hurley, and you find out today that Dan Hurley actually took $20 million less to stay at UConn. How would you describe the Lakers offseason, and do you think just kind of your concept of where they're sitting today?
Well, I think the seeds for the offseason were laid out last offseason when they gave out player options, player control to guys who really didn't have a big market. Christian Wood didn't have a home. Cam Reddish didn't have a lot of teams chasing him. Jackson Hayes, I don't know exactly the market, but they all got player options, meaning that they had the decision to stick around, and they all chose to stay. And because of that, the Lakers with the draft, they got obviously Dalton Connect and Bronny James with LeBron re-signing. They just ran out of space. And so the issue was a year ago they gave away that control themselves to get players that they probably had the leverage over and didn't need to do. And so now they're in a position where if they want to make space, just on the roster, you can only have 15 players, regular contracts. They need to trade to get out. And then, of course, with the money going to LeBron and the existing players, extension for Jared Vanderbilt, they're at this line in the sand, which is what you would call the second apron. So they have a spending limit that was predictable. They just didn't do anything to get out of it. And if you're really aggressive early in free agency, there are teams that have a lot of cap space that don't really have a plan to spend on the stars or the best players available. That would be like Charlotte, who took on Reggie Jackson from the Clippers and took on Devontae Graham from the Spurs and, other teams like that made those kind of salary. They get draft considerations or they get a young player to take on another team's unwanted contracts. And the Lakers were a little passive here. And so those have not completely dried up, but have mostly dried up. And so, the names are coming off the board. LeBron re-signed basically at the max, right at it, or right within spitting distance of the max. So they're just kind of in a position of their own doing where they are just spent. They don't have any money to spend they can't add. They don't have any room on the roster to add. And so the only answer is to trade away players to reduce salary. But now you're losing players. Which players? And are you paying too much in assets to get out of players? You have to give up a first just to get out of a player, just so you can sign another player. And does that new player, are they better than the old player? So this is kind of the situation on a summer that really hasn't been, I don't think anyone is accusing it of being a brilliant summer for the Lakers. So far, it's been pretty much they didn't do anything.
Eric Pincus taking some time here, national NBA writer for Bleacher Report on Lakers Talk. Eric, can you talk how I think that's the fascinating one. How important is that let's put it this way. Those player options that you're talking about, and like you mentioned, Christian Wood, Cam Reddish, Jackson Hayes. By the way, sometimes players will leverage the Lakers to get the platform, and then they end up signing somewhere else. And maybe they take a little bit less to come to the Lakers, but they know that, hey, if I could have a good season, maybe I could turn my career into Malik Monk, right? And I just use one example there. Maybe that's a little extreme because he's been phenomenal with the Sacramento Kings, and he earns every penny that he's got. But the fact that those player options were there, how small but important of a detail is that to where you're looking at Rob Pelinka? I had somebody I think had the perfect example. It's not about hitting home runs, but where Pelinka missed was some of the base hits. Would you describe those as critical base hits in today's CBA that he did not manage well?
Well, I mean, I don't know the options in front of him, and I don't want to sit here and pile on Pelinka to say that, this, that, and the other thing. I can say from a management point of view, under the new CBA, this is the second year of it, but we had some transition rules. So this is like the first year we're really feeling the impact of it in its full force. Every detail starts to matter. And, I wrote something, a couple years ago about the path that got the Lakers to where they were, which was, you won a title and then basically traded away all your depth to get Russell Westbrook. And then you trade away more just to get out of Russell Westbrook. And hey, congrats, you got to the conference finals. So that's great. And you can argue that, maybe some of their moves, I don't want to sit here and say everything they've ever done is bad. They won a title, and then they got back to the conference finals. But it obviously wasn't sustainable enough, and I felt like what was missing last year was a center to deal with Jokic as much as humanly possible, which maybe there was no answer. But, the Wolves found an answer. I didn't even think they addressed it. And so you're giving out these player options, which, is it a big deal? Well, if you add up $3 million for Wood or whatever it is, couple $2-3 million for Reddish and Hayes, that's like $8 million or whatever it ends up being. That's money you just don't have to spend on someone else. So now the answer here is any team in the league right now can take one of those teams. There might be one of those players in trade without sending anything back. Now, there's their minimums. You could just trade them. Those teams might not have room on their roster or in their budget. Maybe they have apron issues like the Lakers. But there are teams that, like the Nets, for instance. You could trade those guys to the Nets. The Nets can just cut them, and you give the Nets something. But these are the decisions where you just have to be mindful. I'll give an example. The Pacers signed James Wiseman. This guy was number 2 or so?
Yeah, I think
he was a really high pick.
2 overall.
Yeah. It has not panned out entirely or at all. They're giving him a shot. Their version of giving him a shot is to give him a 2-year deal. The second year is a team option. The first year is only $500,000 guaranteed, and the second year isn't guaranteed at all. If they opt him in, then he gets another $500 or so. Point being is it's a win-win for the Pacers. Like if he works out, they get another year. They have early bird rights, which is enough to give him a contract. Now, maybe it's not enough, but they can give him an average player contract in the range of $13 or $14 million. Who knows what it'll be in a couple of years? I have to check my notes. But if you do the Malik Monk path, that's great for Malik Monk. But let's say that you bring in Cam Reddish and he ends up being an absolute stud for the Lakers. This obviously didn't happen. But so now he opts out and leaves, and they have no way to pay him. They would not be able to keep him, just like they couldn't keep Malik Monk. There's no way to keep him financially, so you rehabilitated the player, he opts out and leaves. Or the other path is that he doesn't do enough, he opts in, and you're stuck with him. So it's a really, from a team point of view, it's not a risk-reward. All the risk is on the team, and all the reward is with the player. Whereas in this Indiana Pacers Wiseman path, all the reward is on the team. If he hits, they get him for 2 years at a very cheap price and then have the ability to re-sign him if they want. So, like I said, I'm not going to sit here and pile on. These are collective decisions over a long period of time, some good, some bad. I think you have to be extremely diligent and not just in what's in front of you, but looking ahead 1-2 years at a time and say, okay, if we make this trade, are we good enough to win it all? Knowing that with these aprons and these rules, that the next year, all you're going to have left is minimums. So that's why the Clippers are not paying Paul George, or the Warriors are looking at Klay Thompson and saying, yeah, we just can't do what you want, because they're looking at the reality. It's why Denver's not paying Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. The rules are designed to keep the spending in a certain range, and the Lakers are at the top end of that range those other teams were also in that range and have pivoted aggressively to other pathways. And we haven't seen that. And, the best argument is that if they really believe that Darvin Ham needed to be fired because he wasn't the solution, and that this unproven, but certainly, I know J.J. Redick a long time, very smart guy. If he's the answer and it was just coaching all along, great. But it's hard for us sitting here as analysts and say, yeah, you didn't need to improve that team at all. Getting Bronny James, who's probably, an NBA prospect who may or may not ever develop, who knows, shouldn't impact this year. And then a rookie, Dalton Knecht, great. You got a shooter, got lucky. Hopefully he can be a rotation player. Your shooting should improve. So is that enough? Sitting where we sit, it doesn't feel like it's enough, but if maybe the Lakers truly believe it is.
National NBA writer for Bleacher Report, Eric Pincus, taking some time to join us here on Lakers Talk. Eric, you mentioned the I think it's the word that I've heard most in the offseason is the apron, the second apron, the first apron, and like you said, teams, and these are teams that are built a certain way. Paul George left the Los Angeles Clippers. You use KCP as an example, left the Denver Nuggets. Last year it was Bruce Brown to obviously go get money, ended up with the Indiana Pacers. Can you explain just the significance of where we are right now in the NBA, and under this new collective bargaining agreement, what is the model to win now? What is the
right?
If there was a way before, and okay, this is how the Lakers used to do it or the Warriors used to do it. What is the new model, and how do you win in today's NBA? What is the end goal for the NBA for having these different levels?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of questions in there that, like, each one of them I could probably spend half hour going into. But, like, the overarching picture is that it's not just to punish these teams from overspending. It's to they're also punishing teams for underspending. Like the Pistons are paying Tobias Harris, not because necessarily they want Tobias Harris, but because if they don't spend a certain amount by a certain time, they get penalized. So the goal is to make sure that everybody's paying not too little, not too much. And that has to do with the way that they split the money. The players get about half. Let's say $10 billion comes in, the players get $5 every year, half. And you have to have a system that encourages and fosters that. And the system before that wasn't doing it enough. So you had the Warriors and the Clippers spending a god's amount of money, gobs and gobs of money, right? And because of that, the players didn't get all of their salary. They only get 90% of their checks. So they get the balance at the end of the year if the books balance. But they didn't balance this year. They got some of it back, but they didn't get all of it. So everybody took a pay cut. Everybody in the league took a pay cut because of the Warriors and the Clippers. That's what they're trying to fix. And if you're a Warriors fan, it hurts because you want your team to stay together. You want to keep the Splash Brothers together, et cetera, et cetera. But the other part of the question you asked is, like, what is the way to do it? And, like since the dawn of the NBA, it's always been different. Like Utah can't build the way that Miami can, right? Like you have a beach in Miami and the appeal of the climate and the environment where it is that is just not going to be the same in Memphis,
Utah,
right?
I mean,
it's just different.
I'm joking.
And Utah, like I talked to people who in Indiana, right? Like they have last year they go to the in-season tournament, lose to the Lakers. They go and advance really far into the playoffs, have a great year with one of the lowest payrolls in the league, and like it's growing because Halliburton's extension just kicked in. But there's for them. It was draft players and then trade into players. They traded into Sabonis, and then they traded Sabonis into Halliburton. They drafted well. They traded well. It's really just a question of making good moves day after day, year after year. The Warriors benefited from drafting Stephen Clay, so that's how you do it. Like, you know what I mean? It's like getting Wembanyama meant, and maybe he goes on to be a long-time champion, who knows. But it meant for the Spurs to be awful for a few years. And I don't think the Lakers and Jeannie Buss want to be awful for 3 or 4 or 5 years. They did that recently, after, once Kobe tore his Achilles and they were sort of lousy for 3 or 4 years. That was extremely difficult and painful for the franchise, and it's not how they want to do it. So they have to find a way to do it where they don't bottom out. And that's a very difficult path, but it's not – there's no right or wrong with it. It's just every team kind of has the ownership that allows them to do what they want. You know, like Indiana, their ownership has always been don't pay the luxury taxes, but don't tank. So you have a narrow window of how to build it. Lakers are one of the most often, they get slammed by some for being cheap or something like that, but like their payroll is always among the highest in the league. It's just not as egregious as the Warriors and the Clippers have been. But they're paying the tax. They're a repeat tax offender. They're always paying among the top 10, sometimes higher. And so there's no one way to do it, but there are things you have to be mindful of in these rules. And to break it down in the most simple terms is the higher you spend, the fewer tools you have to build. So it's harder to make trades. It's harder to sign players. You don't have the same. Now you could always pay your own guys. So that's where the draft, that's why finding an Austin Reeves, even though they didn't draft him, if Connect turns out to be great, heck, if Bronny James ends up being the next LeBron, great. But those guys are super valuable. But it gets a lot harder to get players from other teams because trades are more difficult and you don't have any real money to spend in free agency. So it's a changing world, and the Lakers don't look yet this summer like they've adapted, but, it is early. They still can make trades. They don't have any room to add, but the only way they can add is by subtracting, and that would be through trade.
Eric, great stuff, buddy. I knew that you'd be able to kind of come on, and for those who keep hearing the word apron, shed some light on it, educate us a little bit, so I appreciate you doing that.
All right, anytime. Always happy to talk to you.
Thank you, buddy. That is Eric Pincus, NBA writer for Bleacher Report. When we come back, of course, we got Crunch Time with Funches and DeAndre. Stay right here. Lakers Talk on 710 ESPN.
All right, first day spring training for Michael Funches. Team Sliwa is taking down Team Mason. In Ireland, you're going to lose $100,000 medical money. Because look at this machine. He's ready. They ain't ready for you, Funch. They ain't ready for you. They ain't ready for you, Funch. That's right, Funch. All right, we figured out where Funch can go. He can catch. I'm gonna put you at second base. Go play second base right now. It's over here. It's there. Oh no.
Clock is ticking, and it's all coming down to the wire. You know what that means.
This is crunch time.
Funch is going to throw a couple NBA stories my way, and me, Funches, and DeAndre are going to talk a little bit about it.
What's up, Slee? Here's Slee and producer Michael Funches.
Funches, what's going on, brother?
What is going on, my guy?
A
lot of stuff happening, huh?
Yeah, it's weird. It's like there's always really good things to talk about. That doesn't mean that there's a lot of action, at least with the Lakers. But
yeah,
there's a lot of other stuff going on in the NBA.
Yeah, we had DeMar DeRozan going to the Kings over the weekend. What do you think about that?
You and I were talking about this a week ago. Remember, I don't think it's a bad move for them. I just don't think. Remember, we were talking about if they get Lauri Markkanen, watch out.
Yeah.
I think this is a move that gets them in the playoffs, maybe wins a round or so, but I just don't think the Kings will be.
Really?
Yeah, I
think they might be it might vault them to the top 4 in the West.
Okay, let me ask you this: 7-game set, you like them over Minnesota?
I don't know.
Do you like
no,
them
no,
over-
no, I don't.
Okay, wait. Let me say this. Maybe them in Dallas could be a good series. That could be a decent.
I think
series.
they could be Dallas. I think they could be Dallas. If DeMar
I
DeRozan's
would
your
still
third
take-
best player on the team, that's a really good team.
I would still take Dallas. Here's what's going to be their issue, bro. They have decided they're not going to play a lick of defense
at all.
Nope.
And that is in the playoffs. You got to be able to get stops, and I think that's the thing. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to be an exciting team. They'll be fun to watch, but I thought if they got Lauri Markkanen, you're talking about a top 4 team in the Western Conference. You say top 3. Like, hey, Sacramento's all in. I think DeMar he's not. I don't want to make it sound like I think it's a bad move, because I don't think it's a bad move. I just don't think they're going to be hanging with the elite of the elite.
You got to think though, Slee. They didn't give up anything. They only gave up Harrison Barnes and Chris
right.
Doherty.
No, you're right about that.
And a second round pick or something. But yeah, and they still have the core of their team.
Now they're going to have him until he's 38.
Exactly.
Making a lot of money. So I think that's the other thing to keep in mind.
And that model of trying to outscore teams, I mean, like Slee said, when it gets in the playoff, man, you can't.
It takes you so far.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to outscore everyone.
Okay, again, I'll go back to it. They're going to be in the playoffs and have a good chance of winning a round. But if the conversation is, do they got a shot at coming out of the West? I'm picking a number, probably 4 other teams before I'm picking them.
Sacramento is better, though. I'll say that.
They're better.
They're better.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're better.
Okay.
Yeah, and Malik Monk is locked up. Like, they got pieces.
They got pieces. They got pieces. And also,
just got to play defense. That's the only thing.
Paul George made it official over the weekend. Joins the 76ers. He will wear number 8 in honor of Kobe.
Okay. I didn't know how people are going to react, and I actually did not know. I listened to a part of his podcast today.
Yes.
Does the and by the way, phenomenal podcast. The dude is, whether you like him and hate him, whatever this, the guy is. I'm a fan of Paul George. I think he's got good intentions, and I know he was never a Laker, but it is what it is. I think his reasoning for why he's picking it, obviously, to honor Kobe Bryant in Philly, I like it. I think it's cool. Now he's got to live up to the expectation and the hype. He's going to have a lot on his shoulders in Philadelphia. But yeah, I'm a fan of it. I'm a fan of it.
See, the only thing is, though, that the only reason why he even chose Kobe's number at first is because 24 and 13 are retired in Philadelphia.
Saw that.
Yeah. Wilt's
saw
got
that.
13. I know that. But I'm so surprised that the Clippers, he said he asked for the Kawhi deal, and the Clippers didn't oblige. I'm so surprised. He's been probably the best Clipper for them the past couple of years. Kawhi hasn't been there all the time.
Before the All-Star game, this is what he was saying in his podcast. He said that they offered him 2 years, $60 million.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually he's just like, look, just give me the Kawhi deal. I'll take the Kawhi deal. And they said no. And then finally they offered him the Kawhi deal by the time, we got to the summer.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he wanted a no-trade clause. They said no to that. And then he decided, you know what, I think it would be weird to come back now. I guess they eventually offered him the Kawhi deal, and he decided, I'm going to go to Philly. Look, you got Tyrese Maxey. You obviously got Joel Embiid. They just signed Caleb Martin, which I think is another good pickup. They got Kelly Oubre. They got some guys.
Eric Gordon.
And he just got $200+ million.
Drummond.
Yeah, I'm living in Philly for $200+ million.
All right, I'm going to sneak this in real quick. Team USA, they've all converged in Las Vegas right now, and they got an exhibition game on Wednesday versus a very, very tough Canada team. Are you going to be watching?
I'll be watching. Yeah, I'm going to watch Summer League. I love basketball. I'm going to watch Team USA. You know my only concern with Team USA?
What is that?
It's a lot of old guys.
Yeah.
Right? So my only question is, how much are dudes like Anthony Edwards, how much are these other guys going to get run? Because I think you're going to need the younger players. I know LeBron, Steph, I know KD's a little bit beat up right now, but that part's interesting to me. They got so many older players.
And you got to give it to Anthony Edwards, saying he's the number one option on the team. Not LeBron, not Steph, not KD. He is.
That dude is crazy, and I like it. He has no idea. He does not care what other people think. He's just doing his thing. So
I respect it, though. I mean, the season that he had, I respect him for saying that. You know what I mean?
No, I'm with you on that. But if you said, hey, who do you want to have the ball at the end of the game, and LeBron and Steph and KD and all these other guys are on the floor,
why,
I'm not saying
Kawhi?
Anthony Edwards. I'm not saying Anthony Edwards, but it doesn't matter what I think. I love that Anthony Edwards is saying Anthony Edwards. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's the type of confidence that you're supposed to have. All right, brother. Thank you, Funches.
Of course, man.
Thank you, DeAndre. Kind of powered through that one right there. Yeah, like like Funches was saying, there's so many good NBA topics. I mean, a lot of times we're doing the Lakers
I know.
show.
We can't get through everything.
You can't get through everything. Like
we have a lot of stuff here on the plate still.
The DeRozan chat in itself is a great conversation, and I like that you were fighting for Sacramento there. But it's an interesting conversation, and I think we did this a week ago, where I was trying to kind of guess, okay, all the teams that are better than the Lakers right now in the Western Conference. Sacramento, I think, is on that list. And I think Sacramento was on that list before DeMar DeRozan. So I'm not completely against what you're saying. I just think you got to have teams that play defense and get stops at the end of the day. Okay, LA, I appreciate you guys hanging out with us here. Eric Pincus, who is from Bleacher Report, really appreciate his time and breaking everything down. Be back next week talking Lakers basketball right in the heart of Summer League. Shout out to Michael Funches, Mario Ruiz, DeAndre Hawkins, and Josh Martinez. LA, as always, hope you guys have a great rest of your day.